when they found that ancient Greek computer thing, what is that called?
The Antikythera mechanism.
Have you ever felt that pull, that shiver down your spine when faced with something truly ancient and utterly baffling?
The image we have created on the shroud lacks the influence of an artistic movement. This is reality.
Our past is littered with whispers and shadows, monumental achievements and cryptic clues left by civilizations long gone.
I think the images are of ancient technology. They appear to duplicate technology that we now have.
These aren't just dusty relics, they're profound enigmas that challenge everything we think we know about history, technology, and even ourselves.
What we're looking at here is a Sumerian tablet. They actually had necklaces with astronomical references, a moon, a star, various symbols, which even could be symbolized as a wristwatch, technology being used 6,000 years ago.
We stand before colossal structures built with impossible precision, decipher texts written in forgotten tongues, and ponder artifacts so advanced they seem out of time.
Amount of unrecorded human history beneath the ocean surface that we don't know very much about at all.
Join us as we embark on a journey through some of the world's most enduring ancient mysteries, peeling back layers of speculation and confronting the questions that echo through millennia.
We have no other device that has a similar level of technology. There's no evidence for anything else like this mechanism in ADBC.
The past is speaking, but can we understand its language?
The manuscript, we don't know what it's about. We can't read any of it.
The Voynich manuscript.
The manuscript is written in a way that nobody else could read it. Suggests that it is preserving knowledge that someone wanted to keep secret.
Let's dive right into one of the most perplexing textual mysteries ever discovered, the Voynich manuscript. Imagine holding a book likely penned in the early 15th century, filled with page after page of elegant, flowing script. Beautiful, right? Except no one on Earth can read it. Not a single word has ever been definitively deciphered.
Is it a language that no one has seen yet or can understand?
It's not just the text. The illustrations are equally bizarre. We see fantastical plants that don't resemble any known species, intricate astrological or astronomical diagrams unlike conventional charts, and depictions of small naked figures bathing in strange green liquids flowing through interconnected tubes and pods. It looks like something between an alchemist's handbook, an herbal guide from another dimension, and a surrealist dream journal. The mystery isn't for lack of trying. Over the centuries, brilliant minds, from World War I and World War II codebreakers to modern linguists armed with sophisticated computer algorithms, have thrown themselves at the Voynich manuscript. Theories abound. Is it an elaborate hoax designed to fool a wealthy collector? Is it a lost language, perhaps a Creole or a deliberately obscured dialect? Could it be glossolalia, writing produced in a trance-like state? Or is it a cipher, a coded message hiding secrets we can only guess at? Every statistical analysis suggests it has the structure and patterns of a real language, not just random gibberish which only deepens the puzzle. The Antikythera mechanism.
We have no other device that has a similar level of technology. There's no evidence for anything else like this mechanism in ADBC.
Picture this. Sponge divers off the coast of the Greek island Antikythera in 1901 stumble upon an ancient shipwreck. Amid statues and pottery, they find a corroded lump of bronze. Initially dismissed, this lump turned out to be something extraordinary, something that arguably shouldn't exist. The Antikythera mechanism. Dating back to somewhere between 205 and 60 BCE, this device is nothing short of an ancient Greek analog computer, a clockwork marvel, far more complex than anything else known from that era, or indeed for the next 1,000 years. It challenges our entire perception of ancient technological capabilities.
When I first saw this model, I was quite shocked by it. I thought, is this plausible in ancient Greek technology?
Using advanced imaging techniques like X-ray tomography, researchers have peered inside its fragmented remains, revealing an intricate system of at least 30 interlocking bronze gears. What was its purpose? It appears to have been designed to predict astronomical positions and eclipses decades in advance.
The manual confirms the mechanism can track stars and planets.
It tracked the movements of the Sun, the Moon, and likely the 5 planets known in antiquity: Mercury, Venus, Mars, Jupiter, and Saturn. It even accounted for the Moon's irregular orbit using clever differential gearing, a level of sophistication previously thought to have originated in the 14th century CE. The mechanism also seemed to track a 4-year cycle, possibly related to the ancient Olympic Games. The Nazca Lines.
I'm here in southern Peru in the remote Nazca Desert, and this is a Nazca line that depicts a giant whale.
Imagine flying over the arid, desolate plains of the Nazca Desert in southern Peru. As you gaze down, the landscape transforms into a gigantic canvas, etched with hundreds of staggering designs. These are the Nazca Lines, enormous geoglyphs, some stretching over 1,200 feet, 370 meters, depicting animals, plants, geometric shapes, and long straight lines that crisscross the plateau for miles. Created by the Nazca culture between roughly 500 BCE and 500 CE, these figures, hummingbirds, spiders, monkeys, fish, even a figure often dubbed the astronaut, are so vast they can only be fully appreciated from the air, which immediately begs the question, why?
Who made them? When were they made? Why? What's the purpose of them?
How did the Nazca people create these lines with such precision and scale without an aerial perspective to guide them? Techniques likely involved careful surveying, using stakes and ropes to lay out the designs on a smaller scale before enlarging them. They created the lines by removing the reddish-brown iron oxide-coated pebbles that cover the desert surface, revealing the lighter-colored earth underneath.
When you scrape away this darker layer, you reveal a lighter layer underneath. So that's the method they used.
The extremely dry, windless climate has preserved them remarkably well for centuries. But the how is perhaps less baffling than the why. What purpose did these colossal drawings serve? Stonehenge's secrets.
While we might never know exactly how it was built, experts are determined to figure out why.
Few ancient sites capture the imagination quite like Stonehenge. Standing majestically on Salisbury Plain in England, this ring of massive standing stones, some weighing over 40 tons, is an icon of prehistoric Britain. Built in stages over thousands of years, starting around 3000 BCE and reaching its most recognizable form around 2500 BCE, Stonehenge represents an astonishing feat of engineering and collective effort by Neolithic and Bronze Age peoples. Yet despite decades of intense archaeological investigation, fundamental questions about its creation and purpose remain stubbornly unanswered. One of the greatest puzzles is the transportation of the stones themselves. The larger sarsen stones, weighing up to 50 tons, were likely sourced from the Marlborough Downs, about 20 miles, 32 kilometers away.
Huge stones like this replica were quarried, carved, and then moved for many miles. They barged them down rivers. They may have rolled them on logs like this. Nobody knows for sure.
Moving these colossal blocks across the landscape without modern technology would have required immense manpower and ingenuity, perhaps using sledges, rollers, and sheer brute force. Even more baffling are the smaller blue stones weighing several tons each. Geological analysis confirms they originated in the Preseli Hills in Wales, over 150 miles, 240 kilometers away. How were these transported such an enormous distance, involving both land and possibly sea or river routes? Theories range from glacial transport, though evidence is debated, to incredible human effort using rafts and overland hauling. Easter Island's Moai. Travel far across the Pacific Ocean to one of the most isolated inhabited islands on Earth, Rapa Nui, or Easter Island. Here, you'll find perhaps the island's most famous and enigmatic feature, the Moai. These are the giant monolithic human figures carved from volcanic tuff by the early Rapa Nui people between roughly 1250 and 1500 CE. Nearly 1,000 of these statues, some towering over 30 feet 10 meters tall and weighing upwards of 80 tons, were created.
Easter Island's Moai, the multi-ton statues, some measuring more than 20 meters in length and weighing more than 75 tons.
They stand like silent sentinels, most famously lining the coast on large stone platforms called ahu, their backs to the sea, watching over the island's interior. Their existence raises a host of profound questions. How exactly were these colossal statues carved using only stone tools? The main quarry, Rano Raraku, still holds nearly 400 moai in various stages of completion, offering clues. But the logistics are staggering. Even more perplexing is how these immense figures were transported, often miles across the island's hilly terrain, from the quarry to their final positions on the Ahu. Oral traditions speak of the moai walking to their platforms. Modern experiments have suggested various methods involving ropes, sledges, rollers, and large teams of people, possibly using a rocking or walking motion to inch the statues forward in an upright position. Erecting them onto the Ahu platforms would have been another incredible challenge. Why invest such immense resources and labor into creating and moving these giants? The Great Pyramid's construction.
But how did they manage to maneuver 2.5-ton blocks to such an incredible height without the crane or the block and tackle?
Of all the ancient wonders, perhaps none inspires more awe and speculation than the Great Pyramid of Giza in Egypt. Built around 2560 BCE as the tomb for the pharaoh Khufu, it remained the tallest man-made structure in the world for over 3,800 years.
For 3,000 years, Egypt's Great Pyramid was the tallest structure in the world, gleaming white in the desert sun.
Its sheer scale is mind-boggling. Constructed from an estimated 2.3 million stone blocks, mostly limestone and granite, with individual blocks weighing anywhere from 2.5 tons to over 80 tons. The precision with which it was built is equally astounding, with near-perfect alignment to the cardinal directions and incredibly fine tolerances between the massive stones. While we know why it was built, as a pharaoh's monumental tomb and gateway to the afterlife, how exactly it was achieved remains a subject of intense debate. The logistics of quarrying, transporting, and lifting these colossal blocks using the technology available over 4,500 years ago presents a profound mystery. How were multi-ton granite blocks quarried hundreds of miles away at Aswan and transported to Giza? Theories involve using barges on the Nile River, possibly during the annual inundation when water levels were higher and closer to the plateau. But how were the millions of limestone blocks quarried locally moved up the pyramid's increasingly steep and high slopes? The idea of a single long straight ramp seems impractical due to the immense size it would require. Alternative ramp theories propose winding ramps around the pyramid's exterior, or perhaps even internal ramps, evidence for which some researchers claim to have found using non-invasive scanning techniques. The Sumerian King List.
This is a prism. This happens to be known as the Sumerian King List.
Let's shift our focus from monumental stone structures to an equally intriguing artifact of a different kind, the Sumerian King List. This ancient text, surviving on several clay tablets and prisms primarily from the early 2nd millennium BCE.
Sumerian tablets are probably one of the oldest form of a written record that we have.
Purports to record the rulers of Sumerian city-states stretching back to a time before a great flood. It presents a lineage of kingship believed to be handed down by the gods, passing from one city to another, while it lists rulers and dynasties that are historically attested through archaeological evidence, particularly in its later sections. The earlier parts plunge into the realm of the truly extraordinary and seemingly mythical. The most bewildering aspect of the Sumerian King List is the incredibly long reigns attributed to the earliest antediluvian pre-flood kings. Figures like Alulim of Eridu are said to have ruled for 28,800 years and his successor Alalngar for 36,000 years. 8 kings in total before the flood are listed, with reigns spanning a combined 241,200 years. After the flood, the reigns become shorter, though still often implausibly long by human standards, hundreds or even over 1,000 years, before gradually decreasing to more realistic lengths in later, historically verifiable periods, mentioning figures like Gilgamesh of Uruk, listed with a reign of 126 years. The legend of Atlantis.
There is a huge amount of unrecorded human history beneath the ocean surface that we don't know very much about at all.
Few legends resonate as powerfully as that of Atlantis. Our primary source for this tale comes from the dialogues of the ancient Greek philosopher Plato, specifically the Timaeus and Critias, written around 360 BCE. Plato describes Atlantis as a formidable naval power situated beyond the Pillars of Hercules, often interpreted as the Strait of Gibraltar, that conquered parts of Western Europe and Africa around 9,000 years before his time, roughly 9,600 BCE.
Plato was writing about events that took place 9,000 years before his time.
He depicts it as an advanced civilization founded by Poseidon with incredible wealth, sophisticated engineering, including concentric rings of land and water, and a powerful military. However, due to the Atlanteans' hubris and moral decline, the gods turned against them, and in a single day and night of misfortune, the island of Atlantis was swallowed by the sea and vanished. The enduring mystery is simple. Was Atlantis a real place, or was it merely an allegorical tale crafted by Plato?
This raised the question of, is it possible that Plato's story is actual historical fact?
Plato presents the story as historical fact, passed down through generations from Athenian lawgiver Solon, who supposedly heard it from Egyptian priests. This claim to historicity has fueled centuries of searching and speculation. Countless theories have proposed locations for Atlantis, ranging from the Mediterranean, like the island of Thera Santorini destroyed by a volcanic eruption, or Sardinia, Crete, Malta, to the Atlantic Ocean, the Azores, Canary Islands, Bahamas, and even far-flung places like Antarctica, South America, or Ireland. Each proposed location attempts to match Plato's geographical and chronological descriptions, often requiring significant reinterpretation. The Baghdad Battery.
Personally, I believe that the batteries were created for a special purpose.
Deep within the collections of the National Museum of Iraq reside several perplexing artifacts discovered near Baghdad in the 1930s, dating back to the Parthian or Sasanian periods. These objects, often collectively referred to as the Baghdad batteries, consist of small terracotta jars, typically about 5 to 6 inches high. Inside each jar is a copper cylinder, and suspended within the cylinder, insulated by an asphalt plug at the top, is an iron rod. The design bears a striking resemblance to a simple galvanic cell or battery. Could these ancient Mesopotamians have understood and utilized electricity over 1,500 years before Alessandro Volta invented the modern battery? When filled with an acidic electrolyte, something readily available in antiquity like grape juice vinegar or lemon juice, replicas of these devices can indeed produce a small electrical voltage, typically between 0.5 and 1.5 volts. This has led to widespread speculation about their potential use. One popular theory suggests they might have been used for electroplating, applying thin layers of gold or silver onto other metal objects. Evidence for ancient electroplating is debated but not entirely absent, and the low voltage produced by a single battery could potentially be used for gilding small items if connected in series to increase the voltage. It's an intriguing possibility, suggesting a level of chemical and electrical knowledge far beyond what is commonly attributed to the era. The Shroud of Turin.
The Shroud of Turin has become one of the most mysterious and controversial pieces of cloth on the face of the planet.
Few objects evoke as much intense debate, scientific scrutiny, and religious devotion as the Shroud of Turin. This lengthy linen cloth, housed in the Cathedral of St. John the Baptist in Turin, Italy, bears the faint, sepia-toned image of a man, front and back, marked with wounds consistent with crucifixion, including lacerations from scourging, puncture wounds around the head like a crown of thorns, nail wounds in the wrists and feet, and a spear wound in the side. For centuries, many believers have venerated it as the actual burial shroud of Jesus of Nazareth, bearing the miraculous imprint of his body.
And because of the contact with the body of Jesus, that transforms and leaves a lasting mark on the cloth.
The mystery surrounding its origin and the formation of the image itself is profound. The image on the shroud is perplexing. It's not painted, dyed, or stained in any conventional way. The image resides only on the topmost fibrils of the linen threads and lacks directionality, unlike brushstrokes. Furthermore, it possesses properties akin to a photographic negative, a feature only fully appreciated after it was first photographed in 1898. Various scientific analyses have been conducted over the decades. Studies have identified human blood, type A, B, and pollen grains from plants native to the Middle East and areas along historical routes to Europe. Yet, the mechanism that created the image remains unexplained. Theories range from chemical reactions between burial ointments and ammonia vapors from a decomposing body to radiation bursts, electrical discharges, or even sophisticated medieval artistry. The Piri-Reis map.
One of the famous maps is the Piri-Reis map, which was created by a Turkish admiral called Piri-Reis in the year 1513.
Imagine unfolding a map drawn in 1513 by an Ottoman admiral and cartographer named Piri-Reis. You'd expect a reasonably accurate depiction of the known world at the time: Europe, North Africa, parts of the newly discovered Americas. And indeed, the Piri-Reis map shows these areas with remarkable detail for its era. But look closer, particularly at the southern edge of the Atlantic. There you'll find coastlines that bear a striking resemblance to parts of South America, positioned with surprising longitudinal accuracy and, most controversially, a landmass that some interpret as the coast of Antarctica.
Antarctica is depicted as having a warm climate. But wait a minute, did Antarctica ever have a warm climate?
This is particularly baffling because Antarctica wasn't officially discovered until 1820, over 300 years later, and its coastline was charted even later. Piri-Reis himself noted on the map that he compiled it from numerous source maps, some dating back to the time of Alexander the Great, along with maps captured from contemporary European explorers, including Christopher Columbus, whose lost maps Piri-Reis claimed to have consulted. This raises immediate questions. Where did these source maps come from, and what knowledge did they contain? The depiction of South America is impressively accurate in parts, suggesting access to early, possibly lost, Portuguese charts. But the Antarctic coastline is the real puzzle. Some proponents argue it accurately depicts Queen Maud Land, but as it would have appeared before, it was covered by its current ice sheet, potentially thousands of years ago. How could ancient or even 16th century cartographers possibly possess such knowledge? The Terracotta Army.
Looking face to face at the 8,000 warriors, it is astonishing to think that this is all built for one man.
Let's journey to Xi'an, China, where in 1974 farmers digging a well stumbled upon one of the most spectacular archaeological discoveries of the 20th century, the Terracotta Army. This subterranean legion consists of thousands of life-sized clay soldiers, horses, and chariots buried in pits near the mausoleum of Qin Shi Huang, the first emperor of China, who reigned from 221 to 210 BCE, created to protect the emperor in the afterlife.
Originally in ancient China, like 3,000 years ago, they believed the afterlife.
The scale of this underground army is breathtaking. Estimates suggest there could be over 8,000 soldiers, 130 chariots with 520 horses, though much of the site remains unexcavated. Each figure was meticulously crafted from terracotta, originally painted in vibrant colors, though much of the paint faded or flaked off rapidly upon exposure to air, and equipped with real bronze weapons. The sheer artistry and logistical effort involved are immense, showcasing the power and resources commanded by the first emperor. However, one particular detail adds another layer of profound mystery to this already incredible find. While the figures were mass-produced using molds for basic body parts, astonishingly, almost every single soldier appears to have unique facial features. Different hairstyles, mustaches, expressions, and ages seem to be represented. It's as if each clay warrior is an individual portrait. Why go to such extraordinary lengths to personalize thousands of statues destined to be buried forever?
What he discovered was mind-blowing. After discovering the first T-shaped pillar buried at the site, he soon found more of these massive structures.
The Serapeum of Saqqara. Journey back to Egypt, not to the Giza Plateau this time, but to the nearby necropolis of Saqqara. Here beneath the sands lies a network of subterranean tunnels known as the Serapeum. Discovered in the mid-19th century by Auguste Mariette, this underground complex houses one of Egypt's most perplexing finds: 25 massive granite sarcophagi, each weighing between 70 and 100 tons, including the lid. These colossal boxes, carved with incredible precision from single blocks of hard stone like granite or diorite, are housed in individual crypts branching off the main tunnels. Their sheer size and the skill required to create and move them challenge our understanding of ancient Egyptian technology and purpose. According to mainstream Egyptology, the Serapeum was the burial place for the sacred Apis bulls. The Apis bull, considered an incarnation of the god Ptah, was worshipped in nearby Memphis. Upon its death, it was elaborately mummified and interred in a grand sarcophagus within the Serapeum, a practice spanning from the New Kingdom possibly down to the Ptolemaic period. Inscriptions found within the complex seem to support this, identifying bulls dedicated by specific pharaohs. However, several mysteries linger. When Mariette first entered the main vaults, most of the sarcophagi were found empty and seemingly undisturbed, while others contained only fragmented remains or a mixture of bones inconsistent with a single careful bull burial. Only one contained what might have been an Apis burial, though even that is debated. Göbekli Tepe's origins. Prepare to have your understanding of early human history reshaped. High on a hilltop ridge in southeastern Turkey lies Göbekli Tepe, a site that has revolutionized archaeology since excavations began in the 1990s. Dated to roughly 9,600 to 8,200 BCE, this complex is currently considered the world's oldest known temple or megalithic sanctuary. That makes it staggeringly ancient, predating Stonehenge by about 6,000 years and the Egyptian pyramids by 7,000 years. What makes Göbekli Tepe so profoundly mysterious is that it appears to have been built by hunter-gatherers. Before the widespread advent of agriculture, settled villages, or pottery, challenging the long-held belief that complex monumental architecture only arose after societies became sedentary agriculturalists. The site consists of multiple circular or oval enclosures, partially excavated so far. At the center of these enclosures stand massive, T-shaped monolithic pillars of limestone, some reaching up to 18 feet, 5.5 meters tall and weighing as much as 15 to 20 tons. These pillars are not crude, many are intricately carved with stylized depictions of animals like foxes, snakes, boars, vultures, scorpions, and spiders, as well as abstract symbols and some humanoid figures. Quarrying, transporting, carving, and erecting these huge pillars would have required a significant level of social organization and cooperation among groups who were supposedly nomadic or semi-nomadic. How did they manage this incredible feat thousands of years before established villages and farming? The Plain of Jars. Imagine trekking through the highlands of Xiangkhouang province in northern Laos and encountering a landscape unlike any other. Scattered across dozens of sites are thousands of enormous ancient stone jars, ranging in size from just a few feet to nearly 10 feet tall and weighing up to several tons. This enigmatic landscape is known as the Plain of Jars. Carved mostly from sandstone with some from granite or conglomerate, these megalithic jars, often found in clusters, pose a fascinating archaeological puzzle. Dated broadly to the Iron Age, around 500 BCE to 500 CE, their exact purpose and the identity of the civilization that created them remain shrouded in mystery. Local legends offer colorful explanations, suggesting the jars were used by giants to store lau lau, rice wine, after a victorious battle. Archaeological investigations, however, point towards a more somber, though still debated function: funerary practices. Excavations around the jars have unearthed human remains, burial pits, and grave goods like beads, pottery, and bronze tools. This evidence strongly suggests the jars were related to prehistoric burial rituals. One prominent theory proposes a multi-stage burial process. Bodies might have been initially decomposed, perhaps inside the jars or nearby, before the bones were collected and buried secondarily in or around the jars. The jars themselves might have served as primary burial containers, symbolic markers, or vessels for offerings. Sacsayhuaman's walls. High above the city of Cusco, Peru, the former capital, of the Inca Empire lies the remarkable fortress complex of Sacsayhuaman, often spelled Sacsayhuaman. While much of the original structure was dismantled by the Spanish conquistadors for building materials, its most awe-inspiring feature remains: 3 tiers of massive zigzagging walls built from enormous stones. These aren't just large rocks, they are colossal polygonal blocks of limestone and andesite, some estimated to weigh over 120 tons, maybe even approaching 200 tons. What makes Sacsayhuaman truly baffling is not just the size of these stones, but the incredible precision with which they were cut and fitted together. The walls are famous for their interlocking construction. Each stone was meticulously shaped to fit snugly against its neighbors, often with multiple complex angles and surfaces, leaving joints so tight that often not even a thin blade of grass can be inserted between them, and all this was achieved without the use of mortar. How did the Inca, who lacked iron tools, the wheel for transport, and the way Europeans used it, and a written script as we know it, manage to quarry, transport, shape, and lift these behemoths with such astounding accuracy? The scale of the undertaking suggests sophisticated surveying, planning, and an immense, highly organized labor force. Roman dodecahedrons. Let's shrink our scale dramatically, from massive walls to small handheld objects that are no less mysterious: the Roman dodecahedrons. Over 100 of these curious items have been found scattered across what was once the northern and western provinces of the Roman Empire, primarily in Gaul, Roman Britain, and Germania, dating roughly from the 2nd to the 4th centuries CE. These objects are typically made of bronze, though some are stone, are hollow, and feature 12 flat pentagonal faces. Each face has a circular hole in the center, often of varying diameters, and small knobs or studs protrude from each vertex where the pentagons meet. Their size varies, but most fit comfortably in the palm of your hand. Despite their relatively common occurrence in certain regions, the function of these intricate objects remains a complete enigma. No contemporary Roman texts mention them, and they haven't been found depicted in mosaics or sculptures. This lack of historical context has opened the door to a wide array of theories, none of which has gained universal acceptance. Could they have been measuring devices, perhaps used for calibrating pipes, determining distances or angles through sighting, a rangefinder, or even standardizing sizes for projectiles or other objects? The varying hole sizes might support this, but no specific use has been demonstrated convincingly. The Iron Pillar of Delhi. Standing proudly in the Qutub complex in Delhi, India, is a remarkable testament to ancient metallurgical skill, the Iron Pillar of Delhi. This pillar, about 23 feet 8 inches, 7.2 meters, tall and weighing over 6 tons, was originally erected by Chandragupta II Vikramaditya of the Gupta Empire around 402 CE, likely at a different location before being moved to Delhi centuries later. What makes this pillar so extraordinary is its incredible resistance to corrosion. Despite standing exposed to the elements for over 1,600 years, it shows remarkably little rust compared to modern iron structures. How did ancient Indian blacksmiths forge such a massive piece of iron, and what gives it its near rust-proof quality? The pillar is composed of wrought iron, specifically forge-welded, meaning numerous smaller pieces of hot iron were hammered together to form the final structure. This process itself was a significant achievement for the time, but the resistance to rust is the key mystery. Modern scientific analysis has revealed some clues. The pillar's iron has an unusually high phosphorus content, around 0.25%, compared to less than 0.05% in modern iron. This high phosphorus level is believed to contribute significantly to the formation of a thin, protective, passive layer of iron oxides, phosphates, and hydrogen phosphate hydrate on the surface. This layer acts as a barrier, slowing down the corrosion process considerably. Ubaid lizardmen figurines. Let's travel back even further in time to Mesopotamia, the cradle of civilization, specifically to the Ubaid period, roughly 6,500 to 3,800 BCE, which predates the Sumerians. Archaeological sites from this era, like Ur and Eridu, have yielded numerous artifacts, including pottery and tools. But among the most perplexing finds are the Ubaid figurines. These small statues, typically made of baked clay, depict humanoid figures but with distinctly non-human, elongated heads and almond-shaped eyes that give them a reptilian or lizard-like appearance. Some figurines depict females nursing infants who also possess these strange features. What did these lizard men represent to the Ubaid people? The figures often have slender bodies, broad shoulders, and specific postures, sometimes with hands on hips or holding staffs. Details like clothing or gender characteristics are sometimes present, but the dominant feature is always the bizarre, elongated, reptilian-like skull and facial structure. This unique style is consistent across different Ubaid sites, spanning a long period, suggesting it held significant cultural meaning. Explanations vary widely. Are they representations of deities or mythological beings from Ubaid belief systems? Perhaps they depict ancestors or spirits, stylized in a way that reflected their otherworldliness. The nursing female figures might suggest fertility goddesses or representations of motherhood within this specific symbolic framework. The Longyu Grottos. Imagine discovering a series of enormous, entirely man-made caverns hidden beneath the ground, with no historical record whatsoever mentioning their existence or construction. That's exactly what happened in 1992 near the village of Xianbeikun in Zhejiang Province, China, leading to the uncovering of the Longyu Grottos. These are not natural caves, they are vast chambers meticulously carved out of solid siltstone, likely dating back to before the Qin dynasty, 221 BCE, possibly much earlier. At least 24 grottos have been discovered so far, with some estimates suggesting there could be 36 or more. The scale is immense. The average floor area of each cave is over 1,000 square meters, 11,000 square feet, with ceilings reaching up to 30 meters, 100 feet high, supported by massive rock pillars. The sheer volume of rock excavated is estimated to be nearly 1 million cubic meters. How was such a colossal undertaking achieved using ancient tools? Even more puzzling is the incredible uniformity and precision of the carving. The walls and ceilings of all the excavated grottos are covered in parallel diagonal chisel marks, running at a consistent angle of about 60 degrees, creating a uniform textured pattern throughout the vast underground network. This suggests a highly organized workforce employing standardized techniques. Furthermore, the walls between adjacent caverns are surprisingly thin in places, indicating sophisticated surveying and planning to avoid collapse during construction. Puma Punku's precision. Let's journey high into the Bolivian Andes, near the southern shores of Lake Titicaca, to the sprawling archaeological site of Tiwanaku. Within this ancient city complex lies a particularly baffling section known as Puma Punku, Gate of the Puma. While Tiwanaku itself is impressive, Puma Punku stands out for its collection of enormous, intricately cut stone blocks, primarily made of hard red sandstone and even harder andesite. Dating is debated, but the Tiwanaku culture flourished roughly between 500 and 1000 CE. The level of precision stonework found at Puma Punku, however, seems almost futuristic, challenging our understanding of pre-Columbian technology. The site is strewn with massive stone slabs and blocks, some weighing over 100 tons, that appear to be remnants of a large temple or complex. What is astonishing is the precision with which these hard volcanic andesite blocks were cut, shaped, and finished. We find perfectly flat surfaces, razor-sharp right angles, both internal and external, and complex interlocking joints. Perhaps most famous are the H blocks, numerous identical blocks shaped like the letter H, featuring multiple plane surfaces, right angles, and drilled holes, all executed with seemingly machine-like accuracy and uniformity. How were these achieved using the tools believed to be available to the Tiwanaku people, primarily stone hammers, bronze chisels which struggle against andesite and abrasive materials? The Tarim mummies. Imagine venturing into the harsh, arid Tarim Basin in the Xinjiang Uyghur Autonomous Region of Western China, a region more commonly associated with the Silk Road and Central Asian cultures. Now imagine discovering remarkably preserved by the dry, salty desert conditions ancient human mummies dating back as far as 1800 BCE to around 200 CE. What makes these discoveries truly startling is that many of the oldest mummies exhibit distinctly Caucasoid or Europoid physical features: tall stature, fair or reddish-brown hair, light-colored eyes, and facial structures different from modern East Asian populations. Who were these people, and what were they doing in this remote desert basin thousands of years ago? The most famous examples include the beauty of Lulon, a woman who died around 1800 BCE, and Shurchen Man, a tall individual with reddish hair and Celtic-like plaid textiles, dating to around 1000 BCE. Their existence raises profound questions about ancient migration patterns and cultural interactions across the Eurasian continent long before the traditional dating of the Silk Road's main period. Genetic studies on some of the mummies have yielded complex results, often showing a mix of genetic markers associated with both Western and Eastern Eurasia, suggesting admixture and complex population movements rather than a simple migration from one source. Some analyses point towards connections with populations from the Pontic-Caspian steppe, associated with the Indo-European speakers or the Siberian Bronze Age cultures. The Sea Peoples. Towards the end of the Late Bronze Age, around the 13th and 12th centuries BCE, the relatively stable and interconnected world of the Eastern Mediterranean and Near East experienced a period of widespread collapse, crisis, and transformation. Major empires weakened or fell, cities were destroyed, trade routes disrupted, and literacy declined in many areas. Egyptian records from this tumultuous period speak repeatedly of attacks by mysterious groups arriving from the sea, collectively termed the Sea Peoples. These confederations of naval raiders attacked Egypt, the Hittite Empire, Cyprus, Canaan, and other coastal regions, contributing significantly to the destabilization of the era. But who exactly were the Sea Peoples, and where did they come from? Egyptian inscriptions and reliefs, particularly at Medinet Habu, the mortuary temple of Ramesses III, provide the most detailed accounts. They list various groups participating in these invasions, including names like Peliset, Cheka, Shekelesh, Denyen, Weshesh, Luka, Shardana, and Ekwesh. Some of these names have been tentatively linked to known peoples or places. The Peliset are widely identified with the Philistines, who settled in Canaan, the Luka possibly with Lycians from Anatolia, the Shardana perhaps with Sardinia, the Ekwesh possibly with the Ahiyawa, often identified with Mycenaean Greeks. However, many identifications remain uncertain or speculative, and the origins of groups like the Cheka, Shekelesh, Denyen, and Weshesh are highly debated. The Phaistos Disk. Let's travel to the island of Crete, the heartland of the ancient Minoan civilization. In 1908, during excavations at the Minoan Palace of Phaistos, Italian archaeologist Luigi Pernier unearthed a unique and truly baffling artifact, the Phaistos Disk. It's a relatively small disk of fired clay, about 6 inches, 15 centimeters in diameter, covered on both sides with a spiral of stamped symbols. Dating roughly to the Middle or Late Minoan Bronze Age, likely 1850 to 1400 BCE, what makes the disk so extraordinary is its script. It features 241 or 242 tokens, depending on how one counts, comprising 45 distinct signs impressed into the clay before firing, possibly using prefabricated stamps or seals. This suggests a form of early movable type, centuries before Gutenberg. The script itself remains completely undeciphered. It's unlike Cretan hieroglyphic or Linear A, other known scripts from Minoan Crete, which are also largely undeciphered. The symbols are pictorial, depicting recognizable things like human figures, including a plumed head, animals, fish, birds, plants, tools, weapons, and geometric shapes. They are arranged in groups separated by vertical lines, presumably representing words or phrases, winding in a spiral towards the center of the disk. What message does it hold? What language does it represent? The Copper Scroll Treasure. Among the famous Dead Sea Scrolls discovered in caves near Qumran between 1947 and 1956, one stands out as utterly unique, the copper scroll designated 3Q15. Unlike the other scrolls, which are primarily religious or sectarian texts written on parchment or papyrus, this one is inscribed on metal, specifically thin sheets of copper mixed with about 1% tin. Discovered in Cave 3 in 1952, it was so corroded that it couldn't be unrolled. Researchers had to carefully cut it into strips from the outside to read its contents, and what contents they were. Instead of biblical commentary or community rules, the copper scroll contains something far more tantalizing, a list of 64 locations where staggering quantities of treasure, gold, silver, aromatic spices, and possibly priestly vestments or other scrolls were supposedly hidden. The descriptions of the locations are often cryptic, referring to landmarks like cisterns, caves, tombs, aqueducts, and specific features within the Qumran area or potentially further afield in Judea, possibly even Jerusalem itself. For example, one entry reads, "In the cistern which is below the rampart on the east side, in a place hollowed out of rock, 600 bars of silver." Another mentions, "In the cave of the old washer's chamber on the third terrace, 65 bars of gold." The total amount of precious metal listed is enormous, potentially weighing many tons, far exceeding what a small sectarian community like the one presumed at Qumran might possess. This raises fundamental questions. Is the treasure list real or fictional? Indus Valley Civilization's decline. Let's journey to the vast plains of the Indus River Basin in modern-day Pakistan and northwest India. Here, starting around 3300 BCE, flourished one of the world's earliest and most extensive urban civilizations, the Indus Valley Civilization, also known as the Harappan Civilization. At its peak circa 2600 to 1900 BCE, it encompassed over 1,000 cities and settlements, including major urban centers like Harappa and Mohenjo-Daro, known for their sophisticated urban planning, standardized brick sizes, advanced sanitation systems, including elaborate drains and baths, and long-distance trade networks. They developed a unique script found on thousands of seals and pottery fragments, composed of intricate symbols. Yet, despite its sophistication and scale, this remarkable civilization underwent a period of decline and eventual abandonment of its major cities starting around 1900 BCE. What caused this widespread transformation? Unlike the dramatic collapses often associated with conquest, though some evidence of conflict exists, widespread invasion isn't strongly supported as the primary cause. The decline appears to have been more gradual. Several factors likely interconnected are proposed. Climate change seems to be a major contender. Shifts in monsoon patterns could have disrupted the delicate balance of agriculture that supported the large urban populations. Drying up of rivers like the Gaga Hakra, sometimes identified with the mythical Sarasvati River, which watered many Indus settlements, could have forced populations to migrate eastward towards the Ganges plain. Environmental degradation such as deforestation and soil salinization due to intensive agriculture and brick firing might have also played a role. The Minaret of Jam. Deep within a remote, rugged river valley in the Ghor province of central Afghanistan stands a solitary, breathtaking tower, the Minaret of Jam. Reaching a height of about 213 feet, 65 meters, this elegant structure built around 1194 CE is constructed entirely of baked bricks and is renowned for its intricate surface decoration. Bands of elaborate Kufic and Naskhi calligraphy, geometric patterns, and turquoise glazed tiles adorn its tapering cylindrical shaft, culminating in a lantern-like structure at the top. Its stunning beauty and remarkable state of preservation are undeniable, but its location and purpose raise intriguing questions. Why was such a magnificent tower built in this isolated, mountainous region, seemingly far from any major surviving settlement? The minaret is believed to have been built during the reign of the Ghurid Sultan Ghiyath al-Din Muhammad, 1163 to 1203. The Ghurid dynasty originating from this region rose to become a major power, controlling an empire that stretched from eastern Iran to northern India. Inscriptions on the minaret itself commemorate Sultan Ghiyath al-Din and include verses from the Quran, specifically Surah Maryam, concerning Mary and Jesus. It's widely thought that the minaret was associated with the Gurid's summer capital, Firozkoh, or Firuzkoh, meaning turquoise mountain, which historical sources describe as a great city. However, the exact location of Firozkoh has never been definitively identified, and archaeological surveys around the minaret have revealed evidence of fortifications and other structures, but perhaps not a city on the grand scale described. The Yonaguni Monument. Let's dive beneath the waves off the coast of Yonaguni Island, the westernmost inhabited island of Japan close to Taiwan. Here, in the mid-1980s, a local diver exploring the area discovered a massive underwater rock formation featuring striking, seemingly artificial features. Known as the Yonaguni Monument or Yonaguni Submarine Ruins, the main structure is a colossal sandstone block measuring roughly 165 feet long, 65 feet wide, and 90 feet 27 meters high. What makes it controversial are its series of parallel platforms or terraces, sharp, near right angles, distinct stepped levels, and features resembling carved pillars or channels, leading some to believe it's a man-made or man-modified structure, potentially a sunken city or ceremonial complex from a lost civilization. Proponents of the artificial origin theory, most notably Masaki Kimura, a marine geologist from the University of the Ryukyus, argue that the regularity and nature of the features, particularly the flat terraces, straight walls, and what looks like a loop road and a stadium area, are unlikely to be purely natural formations. They suggest it could be the remnant of a coastal structure submerged by rising sea levels after the last ice age, possibly dating back 8,000 to 10,000 years, which would place it among the oldest known monumental structures on Earth, potentially built by a lost Jomon-era culture. Some have even drawn parallels to legends of sunken cities like Mu or Lemuria. The Rongo Rongo script. Return with us to the remote shores of Easter Island, Rapa Nui, home not only to the enigmatic Moai statues but also to another profound mystery, the Rongo Rongo script. This is a system of glyphs discovered inscribed on various wooden objects, primarily tablets, but also a staff and a birdman statuette by European visitors in the 19th century. By that time, however, knowledge of how to read the script had apparently been lost among the Rapa Nui people following devastating Peruvian slave raids and introduced diseases that decimated the population and disrupted cultural transmission in the 1860s. Only about 24 objects bearing Rongo Rongo inscriptions survive today, scattered in museums worldwide. The script itself is unique and visually captivating. It consists of stylized pictographic symbols representing humans, animals, especially birds, plants, celestial bodies, and geometric shapes arranged in linear sequences. A particularly unusual feature is the writing direction, known as reverse boustrophodon. The reader starts at the bottom left corner of a tablet, reads a line from left to right, then rotates the tablet 180 degrees to read the next line also from left to right. This continues up the tablet. What does this intricate script record? Was it a true writing system capable of representing the Rapa Nui language, or was it a form of proto-writing, perhaps mnemonic cues for chanting genealogies, myths, or ritual protocols? The Dogon and Sirius B. Let's travel to the Bandiagara escarpment region of Mali in West Africa, home to the Dogon people. In the mid-20th century, French anthropologists Marcel Griola and Germaine Dieterlen published extensive studies based on decades of fieldwork among the Dogon, revealing an incredibly complex traditional cosmology and mythology. One aspect of their reported knowledge caused a sensation and remains highly controversial: their apparent understanding of the Sirius star system, particularly the existence and characteristics of Sirius B, a white dwarf companion star to the bright star Sirius A. Sirius B is completely invisible to the naked eye and was only confirmed telescopically in the 19th century, with its incredibly dense nature understood even later. Yet, according to Griol and Dieterlen, the Dogon knew about it. The anthropologists reported that Dogon elders described Sirius, which they call Sigi Tolo, as having a companion star, Po Tolo, identified by Griol with Sirius B. They allegedly described Po Tolo as incredibly small, incredibly heavy, the heaviest star, composed of a special metal called Sagala, and having an elliptical orbit around Sirius A with a period of 50 years. These details align remarkably well with modern astronomical knowledge. Sirius B is a white dwarf, very small and dense. Its orbital period around Sirius A is indeed about 50 years, 50.1 years, and its orbit is elliptical. The Dogon are also said to have known about a third star in the system, Yatolo, and the moons of Jupiter and rings of Saturn, all details requiring telescopic observation.
When they found that ancient Greek computer thing, what is that called?
The Antikythera mechanism.
Have you ever felt that pull, that shiver down your spine when faced with something truly ancient and utterly baffling?
The image we have created on the shroud lacks the influence of an artistic movement. This is reality.
Our past is littered with whispers and shadows, monumental achievements and cryptic clues left by civilizations long gone.
I think the images are of ancient technology. They appear to duplicate technology that we now have.
These aren't just dusty relics, they're profound enigmas that challenge everything we think we know about history, technology, and even ourselves.
What we're looking at here is a Sumerian tablet. They actually had necklaces with astronomical references, a moon, a star, various symbols, which even could be symbolized as a wristwatch, technology being used 6,000 years ago.
We stand before colossal structures built with impossible precision, decipher texts written in forgotten tongues, and ponder artifacts so advanced they seem out of time.
Amount of unrecorded human history beneath the ocean surface that we don't know very much about at all.
Join us as we embark on a journey through some of the world's most enduring ancient mysteries, peeling back layers of speculation and confronting the questions that echo through millennia.
We have no other device that has a similar level of technology. There's no evidence for anything else like this mechanism in ADBC.
The past is speaking, but can we understand its language?
The manuscript, we don't know what it's about. We can't read any of it.
The Voynich manuscript.
The manuscript is written in a way that nobody else could read it. Suggests that it is preserving knowledge that someone wanted to keep secret.
Let's dive right into one of the most perplexing textual mysteries ever discovered, the Voynich manuscript. Imagine holding a book likely penned in the early 15th century, filled with page after page of elegant flowing script. Beautiful, right? Except no one on Earth can read it. Not a single word has ever been definitively deciphered.
It's just a language that no one has seen yet or can understand.
It's not just the text. The illustrations are equally bizarre. We see fantastical plants that don't resemble any known species, intricate astrological or astronomical diagrams unlike conventional charts, and depictions of small naked figures bathing in strange green liquids flowing through interconnected tubes and pods. It looks like something between an alchemist's handbook, an herbal guide from another dimension, and a surrealist dream journal. The mystery isn't for lack of trying. Over the centuries, brilliant minds, from World War I and World War II codebreakers to modern linguists armed with sophisticated computer algorithms, have thrown themselves at the Voynich manuscript. Theories abound. Is it an elaborate hoax designed to fool a wealthy collector? Is it a lost language, perhaps a Creole or a deliberately obscured dialect? Could it be glossolalia, writing produced in a trance-like state? Or is it a cipher, a coded message hiding secrets we can only guess at? Every statistical analysis suggests it has the structure and patterns of a real language, not just random gibberish which only deepens the puzzle. The Antikythera mechanism.
We have no other device that has a similar level of technology. There's no evidence for anything else like this mechanism in ADBC.
Picture this. Sponge divers off the coast of the Greek island Antikythera in 1901 stumble upon an ancient shipwreck. Amid statues and pottery, they find a corroded lump of bronze. Initially dismissed, this lump turned out to be something extraordinary, something that arguably shouldn't exist, the Antikythera mechanism. Dating back to somewhere between 205 and 60 BCE, this device is nothing short of an ancient Greek analog computer, a clockwork marvel, far more complex than anything else known from that era, or indeed for the next 1,000 years. It challenges our entire perception of ancient technological capabilities.
When I first saw this model, I was quite shocked by it. I thought, is this plausible in ancient Greek technology?
Using advanced imaging techniques like X-ray tomography, researchers have peered inside its fragmented remains, revealing an intricate system of at least 30 interlocking bronze gears. What was its purpose? It appears to have been designed to predict astronomical positions and eclipses decades in advance.
The manual confirms the mechanism can track stars and planets.
It tracked the movements of the Sun, the Moon, and likely the 5 planets known in antiquity: Mercury, Venus, Mars, Jupiter, and Saturn. It even accounted for the Moon's irregular orbit using clever differential gearing, a level of sophistication previously thought to have originated in the